Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we have a mission to wake the world up to what's possible, one brave word at a time. And here today to help me with that mission is Carolyn McGee. She is the lead author of a new book that we have coming out called Inspired Living, Superpowers for Health, Love, and Business. Welcome, Carolyn.
Hello, I'm so excited to be here with you, Laura. I always love these conversations.
I am super excited too. All right, you guys, let me tell you about Carolyn. Carolyn McGee helps women to identify and transcend patterns that are in the way of achieving the life of their dreams while guiding them to align heart, mind, body, and soul with their inner power and radiance so that they communicate easily with their intuition and trust their guidance. So I love that you've got intuition in your bio, actually, because over the interviews with all of your co-authors in this last week or so, and they're awesome, you guys, you need to go listen to them. Intuition came up over and over and over again when we were talking about living an inspired life. What do you want to say about that? Let's open up with that talk about intuition.
Sure. Yeah, intuition is my superpower, and it's what I didn't pay attention to that got me into so much trouble or made my life more difficult than it needed to be. And then as I started to trust it and take action on it, my life flowed easier, more gracefully. And then it became a passion for me to teach other people how to trust theirs so that they didn't have to go through the same pain. And the transformation in people's lives when they start that process and the awareness of, oh, I got this. And you're not alone, right? You're receiving information all the time from the divine, from the universe. It's just so empowering.
It is. This is such a juicy topic. Seriously, like I get really excited hearing you talk about the transformation and the possibilities with this. All right. So tell us a little bit of the story though. Like, how did you get here doing what you're doing in the world today with all of this?
So I grew up with an alcoholic father and a mother who was doing her best. And, but life was challenging. And especially when I was a child, you didn't talk about things, everything's good, So what I was feeling as a child wasn't the same as what I was being told as a child. And so after a while, as a young child, you start to disbelieve your feelings. You put more authority in your parents, in the teachers, in religion, in those external rules that are there to keep us safe, but they aren't necessarily there to help us grow as individuals. And through that journey, I lost myself more and more each step along the way, and started believing everybody but myself. And then after a while, I couldn't even remember who I was. I remember I was going through problems with my now ex-husband. We were still married at the time. And somebody asked me what music I liked. And I remember answering, well, John likes something. And I'm like, I don't even know how to answer that question. I had lost my identity. And, it was my journey back to me that was so beautiful. Hurtful at times, but just learning who I am and honoring who I am, and then having the courage to write about it and to share who I am with the world. That's been life altering for me.
I love the example you just used. And I was writing something down that you said, what I was feeling was different than what I was being told. I think that for a lot of people, we could be nodding to that one in terms of how our childhoods were going down. And then you lose faith in yourself and your own ability to know what's right. You're like, oh, well, it must be wrong because they're telling me this. That thing, that knowing inside, that intuition that's there from the beginning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was working with a client yesterday, and we were doing a little bit of regression to get her to trust her intuition. And as she regressed, she's like, "Oh, I knew that. I knew that wasn't the truth." And it allowed her to have more confidence in herself. It was just such an incredibly powerful moment.
I think, excuse me, that the people who have done me the biggest favor in my life in terms of guides and healers and coaches connected me with that superpower
Mhm,
and validated, and that's what you
mhm.
were just saying just now. It's like you're helping validate her
Yep.
knowing.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's the best ever.
It is the best ever, and the look on her face when she realized that she did always know the truth, that it was she was taught not to believe it. It's
Yeah.
not even like she wasn't given the opportunity or it wasn't encouraged. She was told she was wrong. So, having that, it just gives you the confidence to follow that nudge that you get now as an adult.
And isn't it true for a lot of us, maybe there are viewers today thinking about this with us and thinking back to that time. But I think for me, it wasn't until I was well into adulthood that I even got introduced to the idea of intuition, but then got taught some better things that served me for and have been serving me for the rest of the time. I think a lot of us don't learn it until much later.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I realized, for me that I was following intuition in different ways. Like sometimes at work, I would just know intuitively. I worked in a lot of engineering companies, and I would know intuitively that there was something wrong with this part of a schematic. I was working as the buyer, so I just say to the other engineers, "There's something wrong there," and they'd figure out what it was. So I was using those skills, but I couldn't use them at home. So it was just like this. I was recognized and acknowledged in one world in one way. But at home, it wasn't accepted. I wasn't seen that way. It wasn't good to not go along with the flow.
Yeah, which is it's a problem, and it creates a problem later in life when you're kind of unlearning everything you learned.
Mhm.
But it's another really great thing to help people wake up to is, what else is possible here? Question everything, y'all.
Yeah. Absolutely. And there's so many great tools to validate your intuition. There's a lot of there's muscle testing, there's all these other things that you can use so that you can um, do that. And one of my favorite things to teach people is trust but verify. When I was when I was going through the divorce and moving into looking for another house, I knew I was home when I walked into that house. And I mentioned the house in this book, Inspired Living. Um, but I still did all my due diligence. I checked to make sure the neighborhood was good, that the water was healthy, and that that what the graduation rate was from the high school. I mean, I did all of that background stuff, but I still knew it was my home. So, I tell people, especially in the beginning, you don't make big decisions based on your gut until you validate it. Do use all of your skills.
I love that. Smart. Yes. Okay. So you mentioned the book title again, Inspired Living. What are the ways? Okay, we've been talking about intuition, but what are the other ways you personally live your inspired life? What does that even mean to you?
So for me, living an inspired life is being authentic and doing what brings me joy. Now, I have a lot of things that I have to do. I own a couple businesses. I have to do the taxes. Or get the support to get it. Those things need to be done. They don't really fall into the bring me joy category, although seeing the end result does bring me joy. But it's doing what I need to do so that I have those chunks of time really enjoy my life and to spend time with people who I love, whether it's my animals, friends, my clients. I develop deep relationships with my clients too. So it's all of that, and setting up a lifestyle that I'm not 8 to 5 in an office someplace. I can work for a couple of hours and go weed my garden or walk my dog. I have that, and it's inspirational for me. My backyard is truly my sacred haven, and it's launched my brand. It's just an amazing synergy of energies.
I love the idea of creating the sacred haven in your home and where you're spending a lot of days. Of course, over the last couple of years, I think that got in people's faces quite a bit, and they looked around them in their homes that they were kind of stuck in. And oh my gosh, in our neighborhood, I watched as people renovated and painted and did new things to their homes and created their havens, right? And there's feng shui about that. It's powerful.
It is very powerful. About 6 months ago, I hired a specialist. Now I dabble in it. I know enough to do the basics, but I hired a specialist to come in and amp it up and really help me in to deepen it so that the energy just flows and it's supporting what my priorities are in my life.
That's awesome. I need that recommendation, Carolyn. I want to talk to that person.
I'll find out if she does remote work and let you know.
Okay, super. I mean, oh my gosh, there are a lot of people doing that too by Zoom. It's pretty awesome. The energy though, the shift in energy when you do that is palpable, and that's what gets me so excited about it. So, if you're walking around your own house and you're not feeling it, like, okay, let's make some changes. Like, let's let you breathe a little bit better. That's a subject I could talk about all day long, though. I love it. All right. You talked about your superpower a little bit, but I had asked this to all of your authors too. Sometimes what we least expect, or we don't see it in ourselves right away, becomes the superpower. So you talked about intuition being yours, maybe one of yours, because I know we all have more than one.
Oh, yeah.
But what do you think about, like, when you think about the journey to discovering it?
I think one of my other superpowers is persistence. Life has been interesting and challenging for me. And I truly believe that everything is happening for me, not against me. It's in my highest good. There's something good on the other side. There truly is a silver lining. And having that attitude allows me to get curious. Like, what is going to be the good in this, even though I can't see it in this moment? And that's helped me to be able to see what's coming, to be able to almost bring into reality that next level manifestation, because I'm looking for it. I'm looking for the good instead of dwelling on what's not good.
That's such a superpower, seriously. I try to do the same thing on a daily basis. And it's also an anxiety reducer. Because if you're the worry brain and you're always going to the negative or worst case scenario, or what if this or what if that, right? This practice that you're talking about is a game changer in terms of being able to just be in the moment and imagine something better than what your mind is doing to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And the only way you're going to draw in the positive is by being open to it. I'm not saying the false affirmations of life is good when life's not good, or pretend that we're not sad. We don't want to bury those emotions. That's really not healthy. But to be open to it's going to improve, or how can it improve? And to trust, the title of my chapter is Trust and Truth. And, that's the truth is we are supported. The truth is we are divine. The truth is the universe does have our back. So believing that is going to allow us to get to the other side of whatever experience we're in faster, because we're open to it being in front of us.
And just the idea that, maybe we're not seeing the big picture right this moment in this bad moment.
Yeah.
Maybe I just can't see the big picture. I can't see how this is for me yet, but I
Yeah.
know it is. You just have to trust that piece.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like that with loss. When not right after, a couple of months after I moved from Massachusetts to North Carolina, um, a very close friend and mentor of mine died. And it rocked my world. I mean, a death does. But the gift in that for me is he now talks to me in spirit. So, and I've been reluctant to connect to spirit. So like getting through that to the other side has opened up a gift for me. And my human would bring him back to the physical in a moment and give up the spirit communication. But I can look at what the gift is to me in that experience now.
Well, even you just talking about this is so awesome, because you guys, this book is full of what else is possible. And it's full of these beautiful authors sharing their amazing stories, first of all, but also their master tools for all of these things that Carolyn and I are talking about today. Who would have even thought that the gift of a death would be that you now have a spirit communication with that person? And even if you're hearing that right now going, what, how can you look at it that way? But we do. And we do in this book over and over again, kind of open people to the idea that there are gifts that you just maybe don't know are gifts yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think yet is the key word, because we oftentimes we truncate the possibilities by not including the word yet.
Yeah, for sure. So I want to tag on just a thank you to all of your co-authors. You guys, thank you so much, for saying yes to this project and joining Carolyn with its mission for this book of inspired living. Carolyn, do you have any message for them that you wanted to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you. My core values are community, connection, and collaboration. And in this group, actually, I want to step back for 1 second. When I envisioned this, when I decided I needed to lead, when my guides told me I was going to lead, I just wanted it to be easy. I wanted it to be fun. I wanted it to be surrounded with people who really were excited about building a community and staying in a container where we could offer things to the readers and continue a relationship. I didn't want it to just be we put out something and then we step back and we go on to the next thing. That's not my energy. And this group of authors, thank you all for really being present and for putting your energy in and keeping your energy in. So thrilled about that. I've created a community, a Facebook community for everyone, called Inspired Living Superpowers Community. So it's like and we're all joining in there and continuing the fun. So I'm just so grateful for everyone.
I'm so glad you mentioned that Inspired Living Superpowers Community. We've got you hooked up down below in the show notes, you guys, with that. So if you're curious, and this is where our listeners and readers can come rub elbows with some of the authors and ask questions and talk about this topic, right? Carolyn, I think it's so generous to have that community, not only for the authors to get together like you're talking about, but then for our readers who, they might have a question or two after they read a chapter.
Yeah, and the authors will be reading their chapters in that group too. So if you want to hear the energy of the author's voice, then you'll be able to do that.
Awesome. I can't wait. There's such a power in hearing the voices. That's why I love these interviews so much too. It's just hearing you guys talk about it, right? It's different. It comes alive a little bit more.
Yeah, it sure does.
So tell us about what you have going on right now aside from the book. What are you up to in the world? What are your offerings these days?
So I have a once a month class that I am offering through the Wellness Universe called the 12 Keys to Connection. It's based off of my Sacred Haven living experiences, which is using everyday life to provide healing. So once a month, I will be doing those classes. It's the third Thursday of the month at, I believe it's noon Eastern. And then I've got some other classes that will be coming out and workshops that'll be coming out also.
Cool. So they can find that at thewellnessuniverse.com, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, cool.
And
We'll
I'm
put-
also planning, mini workshops with the authors so that we're going to be creating workshops jointly together. Some of them will be virtual, some of them will be in person. That information will be posted in that community group as those get created. So we're just going to, excuse me, continue the healing and the opportunities to grow from this and to step into providing more.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for, continuing the badassery with that, because I knew from the beginning that these weren't just books. They were communities. They were safe places where people could come and get their questions answered, but get the support that maybe was lacking in the inner circles around them. And just thanks for being one of those people who saw that, right? That it's more than a book, and you guys are going to feel it when you come into the community group. So Carolyn, is there any last message that you have for our viewers today about living their inspired life?
To really look for the positive, to trust yourself, because, and to trust your heart. What is your heart yearning for? And then how do you make that a reality? And even if you take one small step, a lot of times we get paralyzed if we don't take that action. We have the desire, we've got the idea, we've got maybe a whole plan, but we don't take that first little step. So what's your next right step? Write it down and then do it. I love sticky notes, and I'll cross off the stuff that I did. I've got my list. I cross it off. It brings me so much pleasure to ooh, that's done. So take that action, take that inspired action to bring your dreams into reality.
I love that message. That is super perfect.
Thank you.
Carolyn, thank you so much for what you do in the world and for being here today to share it with everyone.
It was my pleasure. Thank you, Laura.
So you guys, you're going to join us for the live stream book launch party for Inspired Living. That's going to be on July 15th, 10 a.m. Eastern on the Brave Healer Productions Facebook page. I've got you hooked up down below. If you want to know all about Carolyn, come on down. I've got her hooked up with her website down there too. And listen, Carolyn and all of our co-authors are very generously there for you to answer questions, to give you some support, to help you take that next step. So come on down and do a little click and explore all of what she has going on today. If you happen to be listening to this after that July 15th date, well, that means you got to get on over to Amazon, because the book is ready and you can grab your copy. And lastly today, everyone, remember, your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it's time to be brave. See you next time, everyone. Thank you, Carolyn.
Bye-bye for now.